I was thrown out of the rehearsal. 3 days later, I became the billionaire's bride. Part 1. The humiliation. The champagne flute shattered against the marble floor 3 inches from my bare feet, and that's when I knew my perfect life was about to implode. You think you can just waltz in here 20 minutes late to your own wedding rehearsal? My future mother-in-law's voice could have cut diamonds. Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is for the Whitmore family? I opened my mouth to explain about the accident on the highway, about the elderly woman I'd stopped to help, but Margaret Whitmore wasn't interested in explanations. She never had been. "Mom, please," Derek started, but his voice was weak, apologetic. Not to me, to her. That should have been my first clue. Actually, it was probably my 100th clue, but I'd been too in love, or too stupid, to notice. "Don't mom please me, Derek. I told you from the beginning that she wasn't suitable. A social worker? Living in that tiny apartment in Queens? But no, you had to have your little romance." Margaret's eyes raked over me with undisguised contempt. Look at her. She can't even show up on time for the most important weekend of her life. My cheeks burned. Around us, the wedding party had gone silent. My best friend Maya stood frozen near the altar of the Greenwich Country Club, her face a mixture of fury and helplessness. Derek's groomsmen, all Harvard legacy boys with trust funds, looked anywhere but at me. And Derek. Derek was staring at his Italian leather shoes. "I'm sorry," I said, hating how small my voice sounded. "There was an accident, and this woman needed help." I couldn't just... Of course you could. Margaret smoothed her Chanel suit with one perfectly manicured hand. "Normal people call 911 and move on. But you always have to play the hero, don't you? Always have to prove you're some kind of saint." "That's not fair," I protested, but my voice cracked. "Fair?" Margaret laughed, the sound like ice cracking. "You want to talk about fair? Let's talk about fair, Evelyn. Let's talk about how you've been stringing my son along for 2 years, playing dress-up in a world you don't belong to. Did you really think this would work? Did you honestly believe a girl from nowhere, with no family, no connections, no breeding, could become a Whitmore?" "Mom, that's enough." Derek finally looked up, but there was no conviction in his voice. "No, Derek. It's not nearly enough." Margaret took a step closer to me. Even in my heels, she had 2 inches on me. "I've been patient. I've been polite. I've tolerated this situation because you insisted. But I will not have my family's reputation tarnished by a nobody who can't even respect basic courtesy." My hands were shaking. 2 years. 2 years I'd spent trying to fit into Derek's world. Learning which fork to use at formal dinners. Attending charity galas where people asked, "Who are you with?" because the idea that I might be there on my own merit was unfathomable. Enduring Margaret's barely concealed contempt at every Sunday dinner. And Derek had promised it would get better after the wedding. Once I was officially a Whitmore, he'd said, his mother would have to accept me. I'd been such a fool. You know what? The words came out before I could stop them. You're right. Margaret's eyebrows shot up. She hadn't expected agreement. I don't belong here. I don't belong in this world of checking pedigrees and treating people like accessories. I don't belong with people who value appearances more than character. I turned to Derek, and for the first time in months I saw him clearly. The weak chin he hid with expensive haircuts, the way he always deferred to his mother. The fact that in 2 years he'd never once defended me when it really mattered. "Evelyn." He reached for my hand, but I stepped back. "I'm done." I pulled the engagement ring, 3 carats, platinum setting, more money than I made in 6 months, off my finger. It had always been too loose anyway. Margaret had insisted on the family setting, never mind that it didn't fit. I deserve someone who actually loves me, who stands up for me, who doesn't need his mommy's permission to have a spine. I held the ring out to Derek, but he didn't take it. He just stood there, mouth opening and closing like a goldfish. So I dropped it. The ring bounced twice on the marble, the sound absurdly loud in the silent room, then rolled to a stop at Margaret's Louboutin. "Evelyn, wait." Derek finally moved, but I was already walking. "You can't just leave." Margaret's voice followed me down the aisle. "What about the deposits, the guests, the gifts that have already arrived? You're going to embarrass us like this?" I stopped at the door and looked back. The entire wedding party was staring at me. Maya was grinning, tears streaming down her face. The groomsmen looked scandalized. The wedding planner was having what appeared to be a small panic attack. And Derek looked relieved. That was what broke me. Not the humiliation, not Margaret's cruelty, but the expression of relief on my fiancé's face when I walked away. "Embarrass you?" I laughed, and it came out harsh. "Margaret, you've spent 2 years treating me like I'm something you stepped in. Consider this my wedding gift to you. You get to keep your precious bloodline pure. Congratulations." I walked out into the Connecticut sunshine, and I didn't look back. Part 2. The Aftermath. The Uber driver didn't ask why a woman in a cocktail dress was crying in his back seat at 3 in the afternoon on a Friday. He just turned up the radio and handed me a box of tissues. I loved him for that. My phone started buzzing before we hit the highway. Derek. Margaret. Derek's sister Claire, who'd always been nice to me, which somehow made it worse. Numbers I didn't recognize. Probably wedding vendors demanding to know what was happening. I turned it off. Maya called from someone else's phone. I answered. "Holy shit, Evie. Holy shit. Are you okay? Where are you? I'm coming to get you." "I'm going home." My voice sounded hollow. "To my apartment." "The apartment you were supposed to give up tomorrow?" Maya's voice was gentle. "Babe, you put in your notice. You were moving into Derek's place after the honeymoon." "Right." Because Margaret had insisted that Derek's penthouse in Manhattan was more appropriate than my rent-controlled one-bedroom in Queens. I'd already packed most of my things. My landlord had already lined up a new tenant. "Shit," I whispered. "Come to my place," Maya said firmly. "Brooklyn awaits. I'll order Thai food, we'll drink wine, and we'll figure this out." "I don't want to impose." "Evelyn Marie Hartley, you just blew up a Whitmore wedding 3 days before the ceremony. You're a goddamn legend, and you're staying with me until we sort out your life. Not negotiable." Despite everything, I smiled. "Okay. That's my girl. I'm leaving now." I told Margaret exactly where she could shove her color-coded seating chart, by the way. "You didn't." "I absolutely did. It was glorious. See you soon." Maya's apartment was a third-floor walk-up in Park Slope, crammed with books and plants and mismatched furniture she'd collected from stoop sales. It was warm and chaotic and smelled like coffee and incense, and the moment I walked in, I started crying again. "Come here." Maya wrapped me in a hug. She was 5'2" to my 5'8", but somehow she always made me feel protected. "Let it out." I cried until my ribs hurt, until my eyes were swollen shut, until the cocktail dress was soaked with tears and snot, and Maya gently steered me toward her bathroom. "Shower," she commanded. "Hot water, my fancy soap that I usually save for dates, and take your time. I'll find you something to wear." Under the spray, I finally let myself think about what I'd done. I'd walked away from a wedding worth more than most people's houses, from a man I'd thought I loved, from the promise of security I'd never had growing up in foster care, but I'd also walked away from being treated like I was less than, from a future of being tolerated rather than loved, from becoming someone I didn't recognize in the mirror. The water started running cold before I got out. Maya had left pajamas on the toilet seat, soft flannel covered in tiny dinosaurs, And when I emerged, she'd transformed the living room. Candles flickered on every surface. Thai takeout containers covered the coffee table. A bottle of wine was already open and breathing. Sit. She patted the couch. Eat. Drink. Tell me everything or tell me nothing. Your choice. I collapsed next to her and grabbed a container of pad thai. I hadn't eaten since breakfast, and suddenly I was ravenous. I've been such an idiot, I said between bites. Nope, not allowed. Maya poured wine into 2 mason jars. She didn't own proper wine glasses. You were in love. You wanted to believe the best in him. That's not idiocy. That's being human. His mother hated me from day one. His mother is a classist nightmare who probably has bloodline purity pamphlets hidden in her designer handbag. I choked on my wine. Maya, am I wrong? That woman probably has her family tree memorized back to the Mayflower, which, fun fact, means her ancestors were religious extremists who couldn't hack it in Europe. Not the flex she thinks it is. Despite everything, I laughed. God, it felt good to laugh. What am I going to do? The question hung in the air between us. I gave up my apartment. I already quit my job at the center. They hired someone to replace me. I spent most of my savings on that honeymoon to the Maldives that's not happening. I'm 28 years old and I'm starting over with nothing. Not nothing. Maya squeezed my hand. You have me. You have your spine back. You have self-respect. And she grabbed her laptop. You have options. Options? I did some searching while you were showering. There's a furnished sublet in Bushwick, month to month. It's tiny, but it's available immediately. And she clicked to another tab. There are 3 social services positions open in the city right now. Plus, your old boss at Queens Community Center called me. Apparently, the person they hired to replace you already quit. They want to know if you'd come back. I stared at her. How did you? I'm a paralegal, babe. Research is literally my job. Also, I love you, and I'm a planner. She turned the laptop toward me. You're going to be okay, Evie. Actually, you're going to be better than okay. You're going to be free. We spent the rest of the night planning. Maya helped me draft emails to all the wedding vendors, brief and professional, informing them of the cancellation. We set up viewings for apartments. We updated my resume. We made lists and timelines and backup plans. Around midnight, my phone, still turned off, started buzzing continuously. I turned it on to find 47 missed calls and 93 text messages. Most were from Derek, a few from his family, several from confused wedding guests, and one, mysteriously, from a number I didn't recognize with a 212 area code. Unknown number says, I saw what happened today. If you're interested in a proposal, a real one this time, meet me at Cafe Reggio tomorrow at 2 p.m. 3rd table from the window. Come alone. Maya read over my shoulder. What the hell? Probably a reporter. I deleted it. Or some creep. Or... Maya's eyes gleamed with mischief. A mysterious billionaire who witnessed your dramatic exit and was immediately smitten. This is real life, not a romance novel. Boring. I prefer my version. We fell asleep on her couch around 2 a.m., empty wine bottles and fortune cookie wrappers scattered around us. My fortune, lying face up on the coffee table, read, A new journey begins with a single step. I hoped it was right. Part 3. The Mysterious Stranger. I wasn't going to go to Cafe Reggio, obviously. Only an idiot would meet a random stranger who'd somehow gotten her phone number after witnessing her very public humiliation. But by 1:30 the next afternoon, Maya's apartment felt like it was shrinking, my thoughts were spiraling, and I needed to get out. And Cafe Reggio was in Greenwich Village, and I loved the village. And if I happened to walk by and peek in the window, what was the harm? You're going to meet Mystery Texter, Maya said without looking up from her laptop. She was helping me fill out apartment applications while simultaneously billing her actual work hours. The woman was a multitasking goddess. I am not. You're wearing your confidence dress. I looked down at the navy blue wrap dress I'd thrown on. Damn it, she was right. I'm just going for a walk, to clear my head. Uh-huh. And you just happen to be clearing it in the direction of the village at exactly 1:55 p.m. I hate you. No, you don't. Text me when you get there. And if mystery person is a creep, order a black coffee. That's our distress signal. I'll call with a fake emergency. This is ridiculous. And yet you're putting on lipstick. Cafe Reggio was old-school Greenwich Village, the kind of place that had probably looked the same since the 1950s. Dark wood, exposed brick, the smell of espresso and old books. The kind of place I actually liked, unlike the sterile country club where my wedding rehearsal had imploded. The third table from the window was occupied by the most beautiful man I'd ever seen in my life. He was maybe 35, with dark hair that looked artfully disheveled, sharp cheekbones, and eyes so blue they couldn't be real. He wore a black cashmere sweater that probably cost more than my rent and exuded the kind of casual confidence that came from never having to doubt yourself. He was also, I realized with a jolt, familiar. Evelyn Hartley, he said, standing as I approached. Thank you for coming. I wasn't sure you would. I wasn't sure I would either. I stayed standing, ready to bolt. Have we met? Briefly, about 3 years ago. You probably don't remember. It was at a charity gala at the Natural History Museum. You were with Derek Whitmore. Something flickered across his face. I was there with my business partners. I racked my brain. 3 years ago, I'd just started dating Derek. He'd dragged me to that gala because his mother insisted. I'd been overwhelmed and out of place and had spent most of the evening hiding near the dinosaur exhibits. I'm sorry, It's fine. We spoke for maybe 5 minutes. You told me you worked with at-risk youth in Queens, and you were more excited about a funding grant you'd just gotten approved than about the entire gala combined. He smiled, and it transformed his face from merely beautiful to almost unfairly attractive. I found it refreshing. Okay. I still didn't remember him, but I believed him. That sounded like me. And you are? Alexander Stone. He said it like I should recognize the name. I didn't. His smile widened. You really don't know who I am. Should I? Most people would. He gestured to the chair across from him. Please, sit. Let me buy you a coffee at least, and then I'll explain why I sent you a cryptic text message like a stalker. Despite every self-preservation instinct screaming at me, I sat. A waiter appeared immediately, the kind of instant service that happened around very rich or very important people. Alexander ordered an espresso. I asked for a cappuccino, proud that my voice didn't shake. I'm going to be direct, Alexander said once the waiter left. Because I think you appreciate directness. I need to get married in the next 3 months, or I lose control of my company. I blinked. I'm sorry, what? My grandfather founded Stone Industries, tech company. You've probably used our products without knowing it. When he died 5 years ago, he left everything to me in his will, but with one condition. I had to be married before my 36th birthday. Alexander's jaw tightened. He was a traditional man. He believed marriage made people stable, responsible. He didn't trust a bachelor with his legacy. That's archaic. It is. It's also legally binding. My 36th birthday is in 3 months. If I'm not married by then, control of the company passes to a board of directors, most of whom would immediately sell to the highest bidder and dismantle everything my grandfather built. I stared at him. And you're telling me this why? Because I need a wife. A real marriage, legally binding, for at least 1 year. That's the stipulation. After that, we can divorce amicably, and you'll be compensated for your time. The world tilted sideways. You want me to marry you? Yes. You're insane. Probably. He leaned forward, those impossible blue eyes locked on mine. I've been engaged twice. Both times the women assumed I'd be easy to manage. Both times, they were more interested in the lifestyle than the actual partnership. I ended both engagements. He paused. Yesterday, I was at the country club for a business meeting. I happened to walk past the main ballroom and saw you tell Margaret Whitmore exactly where to shove her opinions. You walked away from a fortune rather than compromise yourself. That takes guts. Or stupidity? No. His voice was firm. It takes integrity. And that's what I need. I don't want someone who sees me as a meal ticket or a status symbol. I don't want romance or love. Been there, done that, have the scars to prove it. I want someone who understands this is a business arrangement, who has their own life and goals, and who won't try to change me. My cappuccino arrived. I wrapped my hands around the warm cup, trying to process what I was hearing. You don't know me, I said finally. We talked once for 5 minutes, 3 years ago, and you saw me have a meltdown yesterday. That's not exactly a solid foundation for marriage. I know more than that. Alexander pulled out his phone and showed me a document. I did my research last night. Evelyn Marie Hartley, born in Sacramento. Mother died when you were 4, overdose. Father unknown. You spent 14 years in the foster system, bouncing between 7 different homes. Graduated high school despite everything. Put yourself through NYU on scholarships and work study. Got a degree in social work. You've spent the last 6 years working with at-risk youth because you want to give kids what you never had. You're smart, resilient, and you don't give up. I felt violated and impressed in equal measure. That's borderline stalking. It's due diligence. This is a business proposition, Evelyn. Would you enter any business arrangement without researching the other party? He had a point. A creepy point, but a point. And what do I get out of this? I asked. Besides being used as a pawn in your family drama? $5 million. I choked on my cappuccino. What? $5 million. Paid out over the year we're married. Monthly installments. After the divorce is finalized, you're free to do whatever you want with the money. Start a nonprofit. Buy property. Travel. Whatever makes you happy. $5 million. I made $43,000 a year at my social work job, the one I'd quit. $5 million was... it was unfathomable. Plus, Alexander continued, you'll live in my penthouse. Separate bedrooms, obviously. Your living expenses are covered. You can keep working if you want, or not. That's up to you. The only requirements are that you attend public events with me as needed, act like a happily married couple in front of others, and don't talk to the press about the arrangement. This is insane, I repeated. Is it? You need a fresh start. I need a wife. We can help each other. He pulled out a business card and a pen, wrote something on the back. Here's my lawyer's number. If you're interested, call him. He'll send you the contract. A real prenuptial agreement. Everything legally binding. Have your own lawyer review it. Take your time. I took the card with numb fingers. How much time? I need an answer by Monday. If you say yes, we'll get married this Friday. Courthouse, simple ceremony, nothing like the circus you just escaped. If you say no, I'll find someone else. Just like that. Just like that. He stood, pulling on a black wool coat that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. For what it's worth, Evelyn, I think you'd be perfect for this. You're honest, you're smart, and you've already proven you can't be bought. That's rarer than you'd think in my world. He left cash on the table, way too much for 2 coffees, and walked out. I sat there for 20 minutes, staring at the business card, my cappuccino going cold. Then I texted Maya. You're never going to believe what just happened. Part 4. The Devil in the Details. Absolutely not. Are you insane? No. Nope. Not happening. Maya had been pacing her apartment for 10 minutes, and she was hitting a solid 3 on the freakout scale. I was aiming for calm and rational, but inside, I was probably at a 7. Just listen. 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 Evie. A random billionaire wants you to marry him for money. This is literally the plot of every Lifetime movie where the woman ends up dead or imprisoned in a basement. He's not random. He's Alexander Stone. Who is Alexander Stone? I pulled up my phone, where I'd been doing research since leaving the cafe. Founder and CEO of Stone Industries, tech company, estimated worth $4.3 billion. Forbes, 30 under 30 back in the day, now on the regular Forbes list. He designs security software and AI interfaces. His company makes the encryption system used by half the hospitals in America. Maya snatched my phone and scrolled, her expression shifting from panic to concentration. Okay, so he's legit rich, and not a serial killer. That we know of. Doesn't mean this isn't completely bonkers. It's a business arrangement. It's marriage. A fake marriage. Marriage doesn't have a fake setting, Evie. That's the whole point of marriage. It's legally binding. You can't just... She stopped pacing and looked at me. Really looked at me. You're actually considering this? I don't know. I flopped back on her couch. Maybe? Is that crazy? Yes. But also... Maya sat next to me, phone still in hand. Let's think about this logically. Devil's advocate time. What's your situation right now? Homeless in 3 weeks. Unemployed. Broke. Single. Living on my best friend's couch. Right. And what's he offering? $5 million? A place to live? A chance to, I don't know, breathe? Figure out what I want without worrying about rent? For 1 year of playing dress-up as a billionaire's wife, Maya tapped the phone screen. It says here he's been linked to supermodels and actresses. There's a whole gallery of him at galas and premieres with gorgeous women. He said he's been engaged twice before. And both times, the women were more interested in his money than in him. He ended it. Maya raised an eyebrow. So he's a billionaire with trust issues and a deadline fetish. Great foundation. He doesn't want love. He made that clear. This is business. Evie. Maya's voice softened. 48 hours ago, you were about to marry Derek. Are you sure you're thinking clearly? That stopped me. Was I? Or was I just running from one disaster into another, bigger disaster? He said I could have a lawyer review the contract, I said finally. His lawyer will send it over if I'm interested. That's responsible, right? Legitimate? It's more responsible than most Vegas marriages. Maya stood and grabbed her laptop. Okay. If we're doing this, and I mean if, we're doing it right. My firm has a family law specialist. I'm calling in a favor. Maya, I can't afford... Shut up. You're my best friend, and you just saved yourself from a lifetime of Margaret Whitmore. I'm investing in your future. She was already typing an email. But Evie, promise me something. What? Promise me you're not doing this because you're hurt about Derek. Don't marry a stranger just to prove something. I thought about that. Was I? Or was this something else? A chance to take control when my entire life had just imploded. I don't want to prove anything, I said slowly. I've spent my whole life trying to fit into other people's expectations. In foster care, I tried to be the good kid so families might keep me. With Derek, I tried to be the right kind of girlfriend for his world. And I'm so tired, Maya. I'm tired of molding myself into what other people want. And you think marrying a billionaire stranger is the solution? I think it might be a way to buy myself time to figure out what I actually want, with enough money that I don't have to panic about survival. I met her eyes. Is that crazy? Yes, Maya said, but it might also be genius. Let's read that contract. The contract arrived at 9 p.m. on Saturday night, a 63-page PDF that made my eyes cross. Maya's lawyer friend, Jennifer Chen, showed up at her apartment at 9:30 with Thai food and a red pen. Okay, Jennifer said, settling at Maya's kitchen table with the contract printed out. She was maybe 40, with sharp eyes and an even sharper bob. Let's see what we're working with. She read in silence for 20 minutes, making notes, her expression impossible to read. Well, I finally asked. Honestly? This is the most thorough prenup I've ever seen. Whoever wrote this knows what they're doing. Jennifer flipped through pages. He's not messing around. Everything is spelled out in excruciating detail. Is that good or bad? Good. It means fewer surprises. Let's go through the highlights. She pulled out her notes. The marriage term is 1 year minimum from the date of the wedding. You'll receive monthly payments of $416,000. That's $5 million divided by 12 months. Payments are guaranteed and non-refundable, even if you divorce early. My head spun. $416,000 per month. You'll live in his penthouse at 15 Central Park West. Separate bedrooms, separate bathrooms, shared common areas. You have full access to household staff, car service, and a personal shopping budget of $10,000 per month for clothing and incidentals. I'm sorry, what? You'll need a new wardrobe, Jennifer said matter-of-factly. If you're attending events with him, you can't show up in... She glanced at my jeans and sweater. Off the rack. His reputation depends on appearances. Right. Of course. Even in a fake marriage, I'd have to dress the part. He covers all your living expenses, food, utilities, transportation. You can keep working if you choose, or not. Your income is yours. He requires you to attend a minimum of 2 public events per month with him. Galas, charity functions, that kind of thing. You'll need to act like a happy couple in public and around his business associates. What about in private? In private, you're roommates. The contract explicitly states that marital relations are not required or expected. If they do occur, Jennifer raised an eyebrow. Both parties must consent, and it doesn't change the terms of the agreement. My cheeks burned. That's specific. It protects both of you. If things get messy, there's no he said about expectations. Jennifer kept reading. You're not allowed to talk to the press about the marriage or the arrangement. Standard NDA stuff. If you violate it, you forfeit the remaining payments. What if he violates it? Then you get the full $5 million immediately, plus an additional $5 million in damages. Like I said, this is thorough. What about after the year? Maya asked. After 12 months, either party can initiate divorce proceedings. It's no fault. Already agreed upon. You split nothing. What's his stays his. What's yours stays yours. He'll provide a separate one-time payment of $1 million as a divorce settlement to avoid any future claims. So $6 million total? I said faintly. $6 million total. Plus a year of living in a Central Park West penthouse and hobnobbing with Manhattan's elite. Jennifer set down the contract. I've seen worse deals. What's the catch? I asked. There has to be a catch. The catch is you're legally married to a man you don't know for a year of your life. You'll be in the public eye. His world isn't private. You'll have to give up some autonomy, attend events you might not enjoy, play a role constantly. Jennifer leaned forward. The other catch is that fake things sometimes become real. Emotions don't follow contracts. If you fall for him, or he falls for you, or things get complicated, this nice, neat arrangement could get very messy. That won't happen, I said immediately. Jennifer and Maya exchanged a look. What? Nothing, Maya said innocently. Just famous last words. I'm serious. I just walked away from someone I actually loved. I'm not going to fall for a stranger I'm business partnered with. Evie, Jennifer said gently, I've been a family lawyer for 15 years. I've seen every kind of arrangement you can imagine. The ones that blow up are always the ones where someone says, that won't happen to me. So you think I shouldn't do it? I didn't say that. Jennifer tapped the contract. I think this is remarkably fair. He's not trying to screw you over. If anything, he's being overly generous. The contract protects you at every turn. From a legal standpoint, if you can handle the emotional complications, this is a good deal. I looked at Maya. Don't look at me, she said. This is your life, your choice. I'll support whatever you decide, but… She grabbed my hand. Are you sure you want to jump from one relationship straight into another, even if it's fake? Maybe that's exactly why I should do it, I said. It's fake. There's no emotion, no expectations, just a clean business arrangement that gives me time to figure out my actual life. Or, Maya said softly, it's a way to avoid dealing with your feelings about Derek. That hit too close to home. I need to meet with him again, I said finally. Ask questions. Make sure this is real and not some elaborate prank or trap. Good idea. Jennifer started packing up the contract. If you decide to move forward, I'll negotiate some additions. I want clauses about what happens if he becomes abusive, if the business situation changes, if there's a health emergency. This is good, but we can make it better. Thank you, I said. Really, I can't pay you. Maya called in a favor. We're even. Jennifer smiled. But if you go through with this and become a millionaire, you can buy me dinner. After she left, Maya and I sat in silence. Are you really going to do this? She asked. I thought about Margaret Whitmore's contempt, about Derek's weakness, about the years I'd spent trying to be enough for people who would never see my worth. I thought about $5 million, about freedom, about the chance to figure out who Evelyn Hartley actually was, without worrying about rent or job security or fitting into someone else's world. I think I am, I said. Maya was quiet for a long moment. Then she pulled out her phone. What are you doing? Texting you a list of red flags to watch for. If this guy shows even one of them, we abort mission and get you out. Deal? Deal. Okay. She took a deep breath. Then let's get you married to a billionaire, I guess. This is either the best decision of your life or the craziest, and I honestly can't tell which. Why not both? I said, and we started laughing, slightly hysterical, because what else could we do? I emailed Alexander Stone at midnight. I'm interested. Let's talk details. He responded in 3 minutes. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., my office. I'll send a car. And just like that, I was stepping into a completely different life. Part 5. The Penthouse and the Plan. The car that picked me up on Sunday morning was a Mercedes S-Class with leather seats so soft they felt like butter. The driver, an older gentleman named Thomas, didn't ask questions. He just smiled, opened the door, and told me to help myself to the bottled water. Stone Industries occupied the top 15 floors of a gleaming tower in Midtown. Alexander's office was on the 42nd floor, with windows overlooking the entire city. It was all glass and steel and minimalist furniture that probably cost more than a car. He was standing by the window when I arrived, phone to his ear, gesturing as he talked. When he saw me, he held up one finger, 1 minute, and continued his conversation in what sounded like Mandarin. I waited, taking in the space. There were no personal photos, no knickknacks, nothing that suggested a human actually worked here. Just awards on shelves, abstract art on walls, and a desk so clean it looked like it had never been used. Sorry, Alexander said, ending the call. Beijing doesn't respect Sunday mornings. He gestured to a leather couch. Sit. Coffee? Water? Something stronger? Water's fine. He poured 2 glasses from a crystal pitcher and sat across from me, not behind his desk. Equal ground. I appreciated that. You read the contract, he said. I had a lawyer read it with me. Smart. Questions? I had a list on my phone. What happens if your company situation changes? If you get the board to extend the deadline or if you find a loophole? The contract stands regardless. You fulfill the year, you get the money. I'm not looking for an out. What if you meet someone you actually want to marry? Something flickered across his face. I won't. But if I did, we'd handle the divorce as outlined and go our separate ways. Same if you meet someone. What about the press? You said I can't talk to them. But what if they harass me? I have a PR team. They'll handle it. You'll be briefed on what to say and what not to say. Generally, we met through mutual friends, fell in love quickly, wanted a private ceremony. Keep it vague and boring. What are your expectations for the public events? Show up, look happy. Don't contradict me in public. We don't have to be affectionate. I'm not big on PDA anyway, but we need to look like a couple who likes each other. Can you do that? I thought about all the Sunday dinners with Margaret where I'd smiled through gritted teeth. Yes. Good. He leaned forward. Here's what you need to understand, Evelyn. This isn't Pretty Woman. I'm not going to fall in love with you and make this real. I'm not going to change. I work 80-hour weeks. I travel constantly. I'm not warm or particularly pleasant. I don't do romance or grand gestures. What you see is what you get. That's fine. I don't need romance. I need stability and space to figure out my life. Then we understand each other. He pulled out a folder. This is the timeline. If you agree, we get married Friday at City Hall. Small ceremony, just witnesses. My lawyer and assistant will be there. You can bring one person. Maya. Your friend from the rehearsal? Fine. After the ceremony, we'll do one photo op for the press. City Hall steps. Newly married couple. Very brief. Then you move into the penthouse. I'll be traveling that weekend for business, so you'll have time to settle in without me hovering. It was all so clinical, so planned. And yet, somehow, that made me feel safer than Derek's promises of love ever had. Okay, I said. I'll do it. Alexander smiled, really smiled. Not the polite business smile. Good. Welcome to the arrangement, Mrs. Stone. Epilogue. 1 year later. The divorce papers were signed on a Tuesday, exactly 1 year and 1 week after our courthouse wedding. Alexander slid them across his desk, the same desk where we'd planned everything, and I signed without hesitation. That's it, he said. You're free. Free. And $6 million richer. The year had been strange. We'd settled into an odd kind of partnership. He worked constantly, traveled for days at a time, and when he was home, we'd somehow fallen into a routine. Coffee together in the mornings. The occasional dinner where we'd talk about his board meetings and my plans for the youth center I was designing. Comfortable silence in the evenings, him working on his laptop while I read on the other end of the couch. We'd attended 37 public events together. I'd learned to navigate his world, the charity galas, the business dinners, the art gallery openings where everyone knew everyone. His friends had become my friends, sort of. His PR team had made me over until I looked like I belonged in that world. And somewhere along the way, in the quiet moments between the performance and the reality, I'd started to enjoy his company, to laugh at his dry humor, to appreciate his intensity and his unexpected kindness. Like the time he'd donated $1 million to the Queens Community Center because I'd mentioned they were struggling, or the way he'd held me when I'd cried on the anniversary of my mother's death. So, Alexander said, pouring 2 glasses of scotch even though it was only 3 p.m. What's next for you? I'm buying a building in Astoria, converting it into a community center and housing for youth aging out of foster care. I took the glass he offered. Something I actually care about. That's good. You'll be incredible at it. And you? Now that you've secured your company? Now I work until I die, probably. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. That's the deal. We sat in silence, drinking expensive scotch. Two people who'd built something strange and functional together. This was supposed to be easy, I said finally. A business arrangement. It was easy, Alexander said, but his voice was uncertain. No, I said softly. It wasn't. He looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw everything he'd never said reflected back. The way he'd started coming home earlier when I was there. The way he'd remembered my coffee order, my favorite foods, the things that made me laugh. The way his hand would linger on the small of my back at events. Just a moment too long for it to be purely for show. Evelyn. Don't, I said, standing. The contract is complete. We both get what we wanted. Is it what you want? I thought about that. About the penthouse I'd lived in but never felt was home. About the money in my account that meant security, but not happiness. About the man I'd married for business who'd somehow become the person I trusted most in the world. I don't know anymore, I admitted. Alexander set down his glass and stood, crossing the space between us. He stopped just close enough that I could feel the warmth of him, smell his cologne, see the flecks of silver in his blue eyes. What if we renegotiated? He said quietly. Renegotiated what? The contract. The terms. What if... He took a breath, and for the first time in a year, I saw him uncertain. Vulnerable. What if we tried this for real? My heart was hammering. Alexander? No contract, no timeline, no business arrangement, just us, seeing if this thing between us is real or if it's just circumstance. He reached out, tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. I know I said I didn't do romance, that I wouldn't fall for you. I was wrong. This is a terrible idea, I whispered. Probably. We could ruin everything. Or we could find out if it was real all along. I thought about Derek, about the fairy tale that had been hollow, about Margaret's world that had never wanted me, about the year I'd spent pretending to be Alexander's wife while slowly, impossibly, actually falling for him. No contract, I said. No contract. And if it doesn't work, then we walk away as friends. But Evelyn... He cupped my face in his hands. I really don't think it's going to fail. When he kissed me, it felt nothing like a business arrangement. It felt like coming home. 3 years later, we renewed our vows, real ones this time, in a small ceremony at the community center I'd built. Maya was my maid of honor. Thomas, the driver, walked me down the aisle. And Alexander, the man who'd proposed a business arrangement and given me so much more, promised to love me for real this time. No contract necessary. The end.